I do love our music. Welcome to Hello Chaos. It's a weekly podcast exploring the messy and chaotic minds and lives of founders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. Every week, we get to talk to entrepreneurs from different industries at different company stages of all shapes and sizes. We hear real, raw, and unbiased founder stories and talk about the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly, all parts of being a founder. And it's why our mantra is where aha meets oh shit. We drop new episodes every Sunday. Founders can listen to us on a Sunday afternoon, get ready for the week ahead. Hello Chaos is one of the many resources brought to you by Orange Whip. That's Orange Whip, WIP, for work in progress. Orange Whip is a multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs in affiliate cities through hyperlocal media platforms that are designed to inform, inspire, and create connections to help founders succeed. Orange Whip is an all in one content hub with fresh and engaging stories, curated calendars, and local dynamic roadmaps to help founders navigate their local entrepreneurial ecosystems. We've really done all the hard work for founders, so they only need to go to one trusted source to find all the local information they need. My name is Jennifer Sutton. My friends and family call me JJ. I'm the founder of Orange Whip and will be your host today. And today we have Tim Pecoraro up with Uphill Strategies, founder, CEO, entrepreneur extraordinaire. Welcome, Tim. Welcome.
Hey, welcome.
Hello, Chaos.
Well, hello, Chaos, and thanks for
Yeah.
having me. And I do love the name. I love it, by the way. It's a really, really cool name, and it's a very appropriate name. So I think that most people wake up every day with that in mind when they start their day as an entrepreneur. Hello, Chaos. Let's get going.
And here we are. And again, I did have a little mic. I just hit my mic again.
It's chaos, not chaos.
Yes, like we welcome it. We, that is our life. It is whether you're, starting a business, scaling a business, running a business. Sometimes we wear multiple hats, and we've got to welcome the chaos. And I think that's also the entrepreneurial spirit, right? It's like bring it on, bring it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Tim, tell us. So you have done a lot. Like you and I have known each other for years, and I'm always amazed to kind of watch your journey. But why don't you start us out? Give us the Tim story and your founder and entrepreneur journey.
Okay. So for me, I found myself not where I would have chosen to be.
Really?
So I'm from Connecticut. So I found myself here. I call it by divine appointment. And I wanted to do the college thing. College and I did not agree. I was welcome to leave college. And so, I mean, this is in the 80s. So you have to think about it. And I grew up from a very broken family. My, generations of brokenness. And that's a whole nother story, which will be in my book that'll come out the end of 2024.
Oh.
I have a big book coming out at the end of 2024.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, so that's part of my journey too. Is I've been this person that I've spent a lot of time trying to become the person that I am, right? And I love trying to become, right? And so this is literally my entrepreneur journey. Always believing in creating things, starting over. It's okay. That's why I love a blank page. I love learning. I love having to learn hard. Sometimes it's unfortunate because you put yourself in a pickle or whatever, but it's a lesson and it's important to learn. But the thing that is most important is you don't always have to unnecessarily put yourself in these cycles of just learning, right?
Right.
You can be the person if you wanted to say, what if I were to just stop? What if I were to just recognize and embrace that? What if I'm already what I'm trying to become? Because every single time we make these decisions and we try things, or we hear too many voices, we talk to too many people, we get these ideas and all these crazy little things, these notions, we get into what's like considered mimetic nature, or what is mimetic nature. That's how a child learns. It imitates. And then we get into a mimetic desire where then we start saying, whose dream is that anyways? What are we dreaming? What is all this about? But we try things, and guess what? We get stronger. We get self-actualization. We learn. We're still growing. But are we on course, or are we on track? And then are we then saying, well, now that if I'm doing these things, what persona do I need, right? What identity do I create? Like all these things, and we're master chameleons. Masters, all of us are so good at borrowing so much color when, like what I said to you earlier, we need to be people that put color back.
Yeah.
We need to learn to stop and realize that we're already so wonderful. Every one of us are fearfully and wonderfully made, and it's already there. And in all of that hard searching and trying and pushing and shoving, we cloud up that vision. We have a windshield that's just covered with so much stuff. We spend our time looking in the rearview mirror, and we miss the opportunity that's in front of us that says, you're already what you're trying to become. Instead, why don't you spend time putting that to work?
Right. Lean into that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, that has been my journey for the last 25 years. So from the age of 24, I was signing the front and the back of a check, meaning I had 1099. That was my life. Also doing that because, it was in me. I mean, all of my relatives, even though my family was broken, the ones that were around and responsible, they were entrepreneurs. They had regular jobs and they had other jobs. They started things. They built picnic tables. They did whatever they could do. They just did stuff. And
right.
So that's what I thought. Well, that's what you do. But then with that, once again, you're so busy trying to become, you miss the fact that you are already, and you need to now take that and learn to develop those superpowers, but get connected to people that can help shape that. And that's another big gap in my entrepreneurial journey. When you aren't around people that are helping to shape you, but instead you're so busy shaping things, you're asking people to come in and help you shape something instead of you having someone help to shape yourself.
Right.
And that's where entrepreneurs get in trouble. And I found myself in so many different pickles and trouble spots before, and they're hard.
Or you find people that they're not helping shape you, they're draining you.
Oh, God.
The drain.
Yeah.
Like when you're having to drag people with you, I mean, it becomes very exhausting.
So, what you just said, that was so interesting because in my I guess a little notes where you asked, to put some stuff down, like write down whatever. And when you realize that you're not aligned well with other people, it's the misalignment. And here's the thing, it's not that something's going to get blown up or fall apart. It's just you're not paying attention that you're drifting and pulling slightly to the right or to the left, or you're wobbling a little. And then what you're doing is you're balding the tires of one another.
Right.
That's what it's like.
And you're not getting that momentum that like that you could be. Oh yeah. So uphill strategies, is that what you focus on as part of like helping leaders and entrepreneurs kind of find their path? Is that how you kind of come into being and into
So I like the people. So there's things that are important. I'm a leader, a communicator, and an artist. My wall, there are guitars all behind me hanging down this whole wall. I made music my whole life. I did touring when I was super, super young, and I've recorded many people, that stuff. I mean, but also I like illustration. Ever since I was a little kid, I remember I would get frustrated, like I couldn't pay attention. I had super strong, like what they call ADD today. So this is 1970s, right? And so I had to be active, and that's why sports were important. But my mind was just always on the go, and I understood what I read, but I just couldn't pay a long enough attention to finish what I was supposed to be reading.
Right.
And I'd be interested because I drift off with a thought instead of concentrate on the story, right? But then I remember praying as a little kid, asking God to help me to see things like a little pop-up book. Those books you open and you can pull the little tabs and things move, and that helped me to organize the way I think. And it helped me to, just kind of what, organized, it puts cosmos to the chaos in my head, right?
Right, right,
So it's where there's a big dipper in there, right? And you can see it.
right, right.
Right? I mean, I don't even know why I'm getting on that. What was the original thing we were saying? Because I'm just like, there I go. I'm thinking
There
about
you
this
go. All
this
right.
big thought.
So
Uphill
here,
strategies, right? So
yeah,
back to
uphill
that.
strategy. Like,
Yeah.
what inspired you to start that? Was it just because it
The
was like,
story.
hey, yeah,
Yeah, it's story for people. I knew that everything comes from dirt. I believe that you can make anything. I believe if you've tried everything, you still haven't tried everything.
mm,
I believe you can make something. I believe that there's another way. I believe open mindset is great, but open mindset with open options is awesome,
yeah,
right? Like this is like always how I've been. It's like, oh, this is cool, but what if? I've always been and so
yeah,
that's been great in my life. So I wanted people to tell their story. And
mm,
so that's what made me fall in love with marketing. And that was a long time ago. So my first gig was in 1994. And then 98, I went bricks and mortar into a little space. And then I went bigger and I started doing that. But then I realized something. People have to be teams. So you can make great plans. You can make marketing
mm,
plans. You can make all these designs. You can put all this stuff together. But then if the team or the people that are working on it and have to execute, if they're not like a team, if they're not healthy, if they don't understand their superpowers, if they don't know their Marvel universe
right,
and that everyone can't be Hulk and everybody can't be, if
right,
they don't know that, your marketing problems are people problems.
right, right.
And so then I started going, all right, well, that's one way of doing it. So I started doing that and helping nonprofits because I knew they suffered a lot and they
Mm,
didn't have a lot of money. So they didn't have that income to or that revenue to just pay for these ads. So I was like, what if I could give what I would give to a GE, which was one of my clients?
right.
What if I could give this other nonprofit the same quality, but it's less? And then that's my gift. And then I can start doing that. And
Mm,
so that was a great idea. And
yeah,
so then I still ran into the same people struggle. And I'd see managers at a company that they would change leaders over a project that they paid $100,000 for, and
right.
they're
Or more.
making a mess of it or more. Yeah. And I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And then they're going, that didn't perform well. And I'm like, wait a second. Now I'm going to be measured by that.
right.
So then
I
it
don't
tugged on my,
control all of those
yeah,
factors.
yeah.
You're like, wait a
And
minute.
yeah. And so that tugged on my heart to go, this goes back to people. So a business has a story. The business is trying to tell a story. The business is trying to tell the story to a certain character that they know has problems that they're trying to show that they can guide them, give them a solution and help them to see a life that's better than what it is now. So,
Right.
wow, that's great. But let's get to the character level, the
Yeah.
individual, and they're in there and they're everywhere. They're in the company trying to put something out into the world, and they're out there as a buying public or in a community trying to purchase things and bring them into their world. And I'm
Right.
like, I love that people level. So I pulled out of there and started the whole idea around getting the people at the table
Mm,
and working on them and how to get them to align better and get their story, get them to be experts on themselves,
mm,
help them to understand that stop being a character everywhere else. So many people could tell you everyone else's business. They could tell you about this one and this whole thing and that. And I'm like, how do you have the time
right.
for all of that? And so as a coach, when I go into a company, I'll let a person go on and on and on for about 20 minutes. And then I'll say, okay, great. And I'll say, wow, you told me about this. You told me about that, this person, that, and that. And I'm like, you know what? I understand all of that.
Right.
But can you tell me about you?
Right.
Tell me who you are and how you show up. And that's what I fell in love with.
Yes.
And here's the thing. Remember the whole thing I already was and what I was trying to become?
Right.
My story goes all the way back to me discovering my last name, Pecoraro, means a shepherd.
Oh,
And my first, yeah, and that's the whole thing is, and I love people and I love helping people become more than they currently are. I
right.
believe that people can do more and have more. I do believe that I love the underdog and the story of the person who said, I mean, I was the kid that loved the little engine that could. I
Mm,
was the kid that stood up for the person that no one would stand up for. I did
right.
it. And so that's when I would say when I was younger, I met a man named John Maxwell.
Yeah.
And and when I hit that moment in 2012, I knew from back when I was 21 when I met John Maxwell. And he told me I had leadership in me, but if I wanted to test it, go get involved with something where you have to lead people
Huh.
and you can't pay them a dime. And
Oh,
that's when I said I'll go help nonprofits, and that's how I started. I had a
okay.
regular job, and I was helping do dinner theaters for a local church that was raising money for mission work into Central America. And I then started going on those trips,
So that,
and it was
okay.
incredible. And so then I was like, well, I'll help do the marketing. That'll do this and that. But
Yeah.
then in 2012, I was back to I have to get back to the shepherd, to the developing people, to help them realize that, to help people get to that level to where they can be individuals, they can individuate, self-actualize, and make a difference in this world.
Right.
And
So that's how
that's me.
you showed up, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
and so uphill. I love that. I never knew that was the genesis of the name of everything goes back to the dirt and kind of where we, live and breathe and belong and how do
Mm-hmm.
you climb, right?
Yeah,
I guess yeah.
yeah, yep.
Uh,
And so even with go ahead. You go ahead.
well,
I'm
because I was like,
excited.
well, so I see what inspires. So what's been the most rewarding part of your journey?
That's I mean so much. I think what I learned from other people,
Mm,
the people that are helpful, and not just what, wow, Tim, you're doing great, but when I get to have the hard conversations that let me know that, wow, that wasn't cool
yeah.
or that wasn't good. That's the stuff like when to me, it's the equivalent of you won a contract, yay, but then you didn't get one, and you need to follow up and say, equal, why did we not? And can go ask and say, can I take you to lunch and find out what happened? So
Right.
just like that is true, equal when you go in, hey, you were a rock star, you spent this time, but then over here, this didn't happen well, this didn't go well, and now there's a problem, and you have to deal with it,
Yeah.
and you have to learn and grow, and that has been very rewarding because it's the iron sharpening iron you need,
Mm,
and it's
right.
coming from people that necessarily aren't running with you all the time, but they have agency, they have voice, they have value.
Right.
And if you're smart and you want to understand and grow and have wisdom, you better listen.
That's right. That's right. And it's feedback. Sometimes that feedback is hard
Mm-hmm.
to hear, but
Mm-hmm.
it brings clarity and
Yeah.
focus.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think is the biggest misconception, misperception that people have about being an entrepreneur and a founder? And how would you debunk that misconception?
Are you serious? This is only 1 hour?
I know this was like, oh, I could write a
Oh
book
my
just on this.
God. Well, there you go, Jennifer.
I know.
So, let's co-author it, right?
Yeah.
So, wow. Well, you can't do everything.
Right.
You don't know everything.
Right.
Asking for help doesn't mean you're weak.
Mm,
Go ahead and just accept the fact that you are going to screw something up,
right.
and tell on yourself. Don't hope it just disappears.
Right.
Um, let's see. Celebrate other people
Uh,
that
oh, that's
are
a good one.
better than you.
Oh,
That
that's a
are
good one.
oh, and stop despising them, and don't be listen. If they're rocking and rolling, and because of it, that founder got a new car, go over there and ask someone to take a picture of you with that founder with your phone, print that sucker out and make it your screensaver, put it on your wall, and celebrate them every single day.
Yeah.
And and don't despise that, because you know what, that's like trying to give someone poison, or you drink poison and expect the other person to have the consequences of it,
Right.
right? Don't hold that kind of stuff. Celebrate people.
Yeah.
Recognize people too that are helping you get there, from the smallest little thing, even if it was just the phone call.
Yeah.
Treat the person who gave you the contact in that one phone call, I mean, just as important as the person that helped you, like, literally close the deal.
Yeah. Because
Um,
I was sorry, I was talking to another founder this morning over in another part of our state, and you know, she said that was her biggest aha. She didn't realize how, once you overcome the fear of people aren't going to take any time out for me if I
Yeah.
ask. But she was like,
Yeah.
nobody turned her down. She was like, I had lunches. I just called and said, do you have a minute? I've got questions. She said, over 100 people as she was starting her company. The first like 6 months to a year, she was like, I got like on the littlest mundane things. But she was like, a lot of people were like, what? You just called them and they took your call? They're a
Yeah.
CEO of this company. And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I just thought, why not? The worst they can say is, not pick up the phone or never return my call. But she said nobody turned her down. And I think that's the the most beautiful part, I think, of the entrepreneurial ecosystem and the community is we've all been there.
Yeah. 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 And we shouldn't forget that. We shouldn't forget it. And that's the beauty is we all belong. And that's whenever a person walks into the room, they need to realize they're what's missing and necessary. And
It's good.
there's so much going on in the world, man. And I know that. And do you know, it's an example. There's just so much, anyway, there's so much going on in the world. But if we could just get back to just looking people in the eyes and say, you'll never look into the eyes of another human being that doesn't matter to God or the universe, however you want to view it.
Right.
But we've got to just be there and realize that, they have an opportunity and they can speak and they belong and they need access to the opportunity as well. And just step out of the way. Like, we need to be better at being big brothers and big sisters sometimes.
Mhm.
We're really not good at, and I'm going to be honest, when I first started in Greenville, that's how I felt. I felt like the big brothers weren't good big brothers. They just were
Right.
good at reminding you they were the big brothers.
Right.
And it used to irritate me.
And
It
and we're
irritated me.
and it I felt that way too. I was like, I'm the agency Bright on we're celebrating
Yeah.
our 10 year
Yeah.
and I can tell you it was I did not feel welcomed. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until you really get into, I would say, different pockets of the community,
Mm-hmm.
like other women founders, minority founders, and entrepreneurs, really had a lovely community. And I felt like I belonged for the first time.
Yeah.
But that was, I was 7, 8 years in my journey. Like, I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
oh,
I'm enjoying people do what you're talking about. I'm getting to work with those people just like yourself who go into a space and they go, I don't know if I'm welcome. I don't know if I can be a part.
right,
There are people that I've had the honor of being able to coach that they never thought they could be the CEO of an organization. They are, and
right,
they're a woman, and they're a minority.
right,
Okay, then there are people that never thought they would be able to because they were used for their body for sports, had a 15-year stellar professional football career, retired with lots of money, but doesn't feel like they're done, but doesn't know how to do anything else with their life right now. And doesn't know how to, because all they've known since in Pee Wee football was football.
right,
But yet they want to feel valuable. But here's the thing, they neglected some of the skills and the education that they feel, and it's hard for them to talk. And I'm helping them with the idea that you can and you will. And I'm letting them see. Here's what I'm telling them. You know how you have that athlete level where you were making whatever millions and millions? And he's like, yeah. I said, well, just like in business, right? The corporations, you have the big globals, you have your Microsofts and Apples, and then underneath there's another layer and another layer. I said, but did you know there's a whole economy out there that's underneath it where there are people doing $83 million a year online with a 12th grade education?
right,
And I'm like, you are qualified uniquely because of your story
right,
to do what it is you want to do. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of do you want to? Stop
right,
saying, can I? And my question to you is, what do you want? And
right.
what are you willing to do to get there?
That's right.
Like, that's what
Anybody
people
can
need to
do
know.
it.
Yeah, and we need to help people in there. And that's what you did, Jennifer. You
Yeah.
said, I'm going to do this I'm going to, and you
I'm,
kept doing it,
I'm
and
just
you showed up. You didn't know any better, did you? I
I
know I
didn't know any
didn't.
better. I was just like, I'm going. I'm like, but it was so not because you did like, I never talked about my fears or the intimidation and stuff. And not
Oh yeah.
until you get around kind of those like-minded people. And I'm like,
Mm.
oh gosh, we're all saying the same thing. I'm like,
Yeah, we can
oh
talk.
my gosh, now
Yeah.
we can talk. Now I have a safe
Yeah.
space. Now I don't feel as
Yeah.
alone. And,
Mm.
which was so good. And now I think, after COVID, I think that people are thirsting. I mean,
Yeah.
really thirsty for a community. People want to feel like they belong. People want to show up as their
Mm.
best self, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, and it's hard when you are trying to run a business and be a founder. Your people are taking a risk on you. You're
Yeah.
taking a risk on yourself. There's a lot of pressures, but um, but I think like you said, show up. You can do it.
Yeah.
It's
You
like
can't just show up.
just
Just one
pick
more.
up
Yeah,
the
show
phone
up.
and call. Like,
Yeah.
don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Somebody is going to give you the advice, right?
Yes. That's right. Someone will answer.
Someone's going to answer. So, okay. So what do you think it was the most breakthrough moment, like a breakthrough moment or a decision that had a significant impact on the growth of like your bit like uphill strategies, or maybe you started something different. Like, what was your biggest aha moment?
So I mean, because this is once again me where I had to learn, like, so life is learn, you unlearn to relearn, right?
Right.
That's what I view it.
I call
But
it I
sometimes,
call it fail up. That's
yeah, fail up, yeah. So I go, well, sometimes we like, I don't know. I don't know if we're trying to practice learning, but sometimes I think we put ourselves in positions of learning that are stupid and unnecessary, right? So
I
I
feel like
think
I'm
I'm
that
just gonna
person.
put it that way. Yeah. So this is a thing. Like right now, I'm trying to help people realize just it's okay to realize when you've broken things, right?
Mm,
Like I remember as a kid, we broke a lamp, and we didn't have much as children. My mom was a single parent, worked a lot. I mean, we were poor.
mm,
We pushed that we would go get the shopping carts, and we picked up bottles and cans. We put them in the thing. We go to the grocery store and we'd get the money. We did paper routes
right.
early in the morning before school. These are things to contribute to the family, to the house, and you know, um, but breaking things was hard because when I was a kid, my mom, any little precious little item was so important to her.
Mm,
That's why I think I'm so sentimental when someone gives me something. Like just a little thing, it's just small, and
right.
I'll keep it. And so my mom had this lamp, and my brother and I, my older brother, it was two of us, and we were rough. We were kids, we were boys. We had five uncles that were older and very juvenile and in and out of juvie. Some of them, but we broke this lamp, and it had the bulb inside of it,
Mm,
and you could see through it like glass right in there, and it was
right.
like but it was colored. It was like
Mm,
a had all these different, it was like a blown glass thing, and it had all the colors, and I loved it because that's my creative little self. I loved it. We
yeah.
broke it. We were like, oh no. So we looked everywhere. We went to neighbors, and we finally got some crazy glue, the kind that where the original your head would be, you see it
Yeah.
hanging from a beam. So we pieced this thing back together because the pieces were big enough. We got it together, and we just held it and held it and just hoped it would stay, and it did. And my mom, she worked a lot. I mean, we were home alone,
Right.
and so
You're a latchkey kid like
finally,
me.
yeah, yeah, that's right. That's why parents are like they are a lot of
That's
them
right.
today because of us. So my mom came home. We were in bed. Woke up the next morning. My mom came home. She didn't notice anything. So the next day, I think it was a Saturday. Whole day goes by. We get in there, and we were gonna sit down, and we had a little black and white TV, and something was gonna come on. I can't remember. My mom said, well, let's turn off the lights, but the lamp. And we were like, uh-oh. So she turns it on, and we think, oh, it works. Everything is good. We don't even notice anything. Finally, my mom turns the big light on, looks, and says, what happened to the lamp? The bottom line was, when you turn the light on, we couldn't see all the little crack lines.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't pay attention to that. We
But
just knew
she
it
could.
held together.
She
Right.
knew.
we saw one thing, it held together, but it was broken, and we've attempted to fix
Mm,
something, but we didn't involve the person whose it belonged to.
mm.
And that's a big lesson I learned. That, and these are things that I'm putting in things that I'm creating, but when you know something is broken that should never have gotten to where it is,
Mm.
and then you realize the aha of that is, so that's the story. You break something. I just
Right.
told you a story, but here's the message, and this is what I'm trying to tell people. Everyone's got a story. Everyone's got a freaking story, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone does. But
Every.
then it's like, but what's the message? Like with my kids, what I've missed with my kids, with all my entrepreneurial busyness and the things that I broke because I was doing what I thought was I was supposed to do, whatever to help them. The story was I did it right for them, right? I
Right.
did this and I'm trying and I tried or whatever.
Mm.
But the message when you ask them is different. You have to
Right.
ask the other person. You gave a story, but what is the message? And so when you realize you missed, the message is when you miss the opportunity to do hard things
Mm.
without harming others.
Ah, that was your big aha through your journey.
Well, one of them. Oh yeah,
One of
yeah,
them. One of
yeah.
what was the
That's
what
like
was
really heavy. That was a heavy,
yeah.
a strong one. That like when, and it's one of those things where I'll say that is broken without a remedy. In other words, I don't ever want repeat in that space ever in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are the hard lessons. You're like, uh-uh.
Mm-hmm.
Do not repeat. Well, I think that's part of the failing up too, of like when you do something that's so detrimental, like that's a lessons learned. I will never go down that path again. Or I've now
Right?
been warned of
Yeah.
I see the signs. I know not to repeat the same mistakes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because we don't know what we don't know until
Yeah.
until we break something.
Yeah. And then we think we know what we don't
Don't
know,
know,
right? Yeah.
and then we
Yeah.
need to course correct.
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest? What was like the biggest challenge that was your oh shit? Like what?
Hmm.
And how did you overcome that?
Hmm. So, well, the big challenge for me, I think, well, 2008 when that market went down,
Oh, brutal.
there it is right there. Because I'm going to tell you, right, that is when, and so that's the beginning of things that once again I should have not tried to fix.
Mm,
They were broke,
yeah,
and I should have worked with what broke. So I corrected some stuff, which was great. I was able to keep going, operate, whatever.
right. Which was
But
great because what
yeah,
40% of agencies
yeah.
closed their doors between '08
Mm-hmm.
and 2010.
Yeah, and
Um,
and it was hard. Yeah,
it
it
was
it it,
hard.
it took till maybe almost 2013 for me, 2012 to even like get to where I didn't feel punch drunk from
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You know, and it was a wake up because that's when I once again realized that first of all, it goes back to Tim, you're focusing on the wrong thing.
eh,
So it's the case of being it's the case no sorry the curse of being capable.
mm.
And so when you're able to do something, and just because you're able doesn't mean you should do it, right?
Ah,
And
just because you can
yeah,
doesn't mean so
you
well,
should.
you should. I tell this is what so my son, I'll tell
Uh,
you this little, he's in college in information systems. I mean, he's been coding and breaking things since he was, 5, 6, 7 years old. I mean, he
mm,
got in trouble, suspended in middle school because he hacked into the school back end of their computer
oh
system.
man, see,
For,
I would have done that.
so,
I would have
but
done
here's
something like
you'll love this,
that.
Tim. You'll love this. So, not that he did anything nefarious. Like
hmm
it was an after school program. They timed the kids on the computer.
Yeah.
So you can only have like 30 minutes or an hour sessions. But he breaks in. He is sixth grade. He breaks into the back end of the computer just to turn the clock timer on his computer so it wouldn't alert the whatever the computer room teacher that he needed to get off the computer. Well, and he was like, "Why?" And so we were like, "Callaway, You were
Oh my God.
way too smart. I'm glad you didn't do anything bad, but it's still just because you can do something,
Doesn't mean shit. Yeah.
you shouldn't. And because he was talking about like starting to engage with black hat
Oh boy.
coders and stuff. He's like, well, I want to learn from. He's like, I want to teach them what's good about coding and not to be. And I'm like, just because you can. So that became like a theme in our repeat in our house when it came to him. Just because you can
Yeah.
code something and build something doesn't mean you
I did
should.
that by taking like gear apart, like old stuff like this behind me. That's how I learned how to put old school gear together and run stuff and make it sound a certain way and amplifiers
Yeah.
and it was like that's how you do it. And I'm like, oh, but then because I broke it, I put some things I put together well,
Yeah.
some they worked but not as intended, and some just it was just never going to happen
You,
again.
you made them better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So out of your whole journey, what has surprised you the most? Like either with people or your own
Hmm.
business or maybe a self-reflection on yourself? Like what has been the most surprising thing?
There's several. Well, in the work that I do, the most surprising thing is how often people say I know that, but then they're not doing the thing they say they know. It's so unreal, and they want to know why their life is the same or it's nothing has changed. I hear that like you wouldn't, and it's just wow. And then so that's just
How do you
just
do
when
you
you
know you do realize you're never going to change if you
yeah
continue doing the
yeah
same thing?
yeah yeah. I mean, you think about it when you go, I know, right? We do that, and we just need that little nudge from someone to go, dude, hey, so if you know that, what would happen if you did that? What do you
Oh,
think? what
yeah.
what? So it was that. I think the continued reinforcement of behavior follows belief.
Mm.
That no person will consistently behave in a way that's inconsistent with how they see themselves, no
Ah,
matter how much you try to tweak or adjust that or do whatever. People work on behavior modifications and all that other stuff. I mean, we're all going to do dumb things. We're all going to,
yeah.
and it's hard, but I think sometimes we never really get to learn and grow because we're so busy being bound up and wound up, not trying to know. We're so confined
Oh,
that
yeah.
like we don't even with friendships. It's very hard for us to make a mistake with anyone anymore
Right.
because everybody, even in the most sacred place of your home with your own spouse
Mm.
or partner or whatever, it's almost like because the world wants to whisper in their ear to
Mm.
punish and punish and punish. And
Mm.
so we even in school, micro losses are almost like non-existent. You can't lose. Like you're not supposed to. And then we want to know what happened to resilience. Why is it that
Oh,
people
yeah.
can't recover? Why is everything such an issue and a tragedy? And it's because we give too many answers to remember and not enough problems to solve.
Mm.
And we let ourselves get electrified by ideals that people are so rigid in, but they
Right.
may not even be our own, but we're looking to align or identify or find a place to fit. And we've got to be careful of that,
Yeah. Oh, my
of
goodness.
some of that
Yeah.
stuff. That anyways, that's just that thing can go deep in that where we just what I just talked about. That's just wow. That's a space that I want people to just go, it's okay. That's why I did the podcast, my new
Right.
podcast, and this is just
Yeah.
we're just talking, right? So I didn't intend to start about this, but Blank Page is the podcast. That's what I'm doing, and it's because
Yeah.
nothing listens better than a blank piece of paper. It is one of the things right now that I believe my signature stuff is on the horizon, right?
Hmm.
Everything that I have been learning and improving on and getting better at, and things that I've done really, really well, things I've not done well, things that are somewhere in the middle and yet to be determined. Uh, um, the the people I've given grace to, the people that have given grace to me,
Yeah.
people that haven't. Like it's all of this is here down to this simple thing that you know we have to put our color into the world,
Yeah.
and and we need to be careful that we don't leave this earth and rob people of the good things that we could have given.
Hmm.
So whether it's a song or a book or a talk, or you're a person behind the scenes doing an encouragement thing, whatever it is, don't leave the earth and rob people
Of the gifts that you bring.
of the right.
Okay.
And so everything that I'm working toward in the future deals on this. There's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and that's what this blank page is, where I'm working
Right.
in this space is. It's all the genesis of new things. The blank pages, and I'll come to the building on this. So, and thank you for the latitude.
No.
If you get a clean slate, you wipe it off. That's the old statement. You get a clean slate, you can wipe it off. It's chalk, beat the erasers, clean them.
Right.
You write on it, wipe it again. Oh, the chalk.
You're aging us, Tim.
Yeah.
People don't know what that is.
Yeah. So it's a chalkboard, right? So then, but you can wipe it off if you wanted to get rid of the chalk lines and then clean it up and make it blackboard again. But it still has a remnant. There's always still something there. And it's called ghosting. It's like a dry erase board, and you got to get extra cleaner on top of it.
Right.
And that's what happens in life. We, as people, the apology is the start. I'm sorry, but we need to move into forgiveness to where it's giving power back. Right. It's, will you forgive me? It's like, Jennifer, I'm sorry. That's where I start for X, Y, and Z. And I ask you, will you forgive me? The sorry is a clean slate with some ghosting, because if I leave with I'm sorry, I'm still leaving with whatever power I may have taken.
Yeah.
But when I ask for forgiveness, and if you give that to me, then now we have exchanged properly, and that's a blank page.
We can move forward.
And we can go into a new spot. And so too many people are still, that's when you say, now the new terms, what, the receipt. Oh, they got a receipt. All this other stuff. Yeah, that's the clean slate stuff.
Right.
I'll forgive, but I'll never forget. Here's the thing.
Right.
I went through a lot of stuff. I went through tremendous trauma as a child. I was abused very horribly as a kid, little, okay, by a trusted person. Do you know, I'll never forget that, but I can honestly say in my heart, that individual was forgiven.
Yeah.
And I know that, and I can talk about it without that. And it took a long time to get there. And I mean, even in my mid-30s, still operating to some of the ghosting of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have to take, and then it's still, you have to take responsibility. It's not them. It's, there are things, but you have to take responsibility. And that's what blank page is about. Whether it's business, whether it's relationship, whatever it is, what's the blank page thing now? After you've talked about it, after you've identified it, after you've lamented it, argued about it, after you've concluded, and here you are, now what are you going to do?
Now
that's blank pages.
Okay.
That's what that's about. And so that is what everything I want moving forward. You know why? Because we're too busy trying to, we're in a social revolution, social media, everything. Everybody's trying to grow and be viral and do all this. And you know what it is? Everybody's seeking audiences. And I don't know. I think what's going to happen, and I'm just going to use a biblical thing. This is just my view, but John the Baptist didn't baptize people in the city where everybody was. Interesting. He went out to the wilderness, and that's where he did it with the message. We need to get better at going to more desolate places, because that's where the water is needed. That's where something new is needed. We're too busy trying to steal and rob thunder and shine from others, or get a little bit of it in the same audiences. I know they call it red ocean and blue ocean strategies and all that, and I get it. But here's the thing. I want to take it deeper than that. I want to take it down to this. 99.9% of every human being is exactly the same. Ancestry and 23andMe, it's a multi-billion-dollar. DNA is awesome. It'll crack cold cases. I found out I have a sister 2 years ago, and I have other siblings. And that's a whole other story that I'll be breaking in a whole other area.
You did do the 23andMe?
It's amazing. It is both of them. It's just So just listen to this. Is so
That is
awesome.
crazy.
And so here's the thing. I have spent, and this is the chameleon in us, we spend way too much time trying to focus on everything that's similar. We all have skin, we all have hair, all these things about
Right.
us. We breathe, we have skills, gifts, all this stuff. But in there, this 0.01% in our DNA makes us uniquely us.
That's right.
It's undeniable. There's like hundreds of millions of differences and variables. Even in identical twins, it's still, you could tell who's who
That's
by
right.
those sequences of change. What if we spent more time living our life trying to see that come out of us
Hmm.
instead of all of the 99.9% comparable stuff
Great.
that we do? What if we spend more time on the unimaginable and the uniqueness that we possess? What if we invested more in that, into bringing our unique self there? That's what I had to learn. That's why I'm one of those, I resist when someone tells me, what do I identify more as, a minority
Mm.
or white like my mom? And it drives me nuts because I dishonor by not claiming all of me.
Right.
I don't want my children to claim all of me. Now, there's advantages if I want to say, yeah. So in Africa, because Morocco and Senegal and Cameroon is my blood. And my mom's side is Ukraine and Russia. My mom's red hair, green eyes. But I'll claim this over here because I get some benefit.
Yeah.
I can't do that, Jennifer.
Yeah.
So I'm this unique, ethnically ambiguous guy that gets to show up and take whatever's in me. And instead of me focusing on the 99.9% that gets me to compare, that
Right.
ultimately gets me to shut down, that ultimately gets me to stay back, which ultimately gets me to resent other people or to do stupid things to try to catch up, rather than stop myself and instead of trying to become who I already am, look at who I am and allow
Right.
that to become in this life. That's
Yeah.
the difference. So
I,
there I am.
I love it. So Uphill Strategies
Yeah.
has now a podcast called
Blank Pages
Blank
podcast.
Pages.
And
The
it's
Blank Pages
in
podcast.
what's called the UCN Network, which is Uphill Community Network. So Uphill Community Network is where the future is. So this Blank Pages
Yeah.
is going to live in this network. It has media and publishing, which
Okay.
underneath there, I've been writing this book. I've been writing several books, but the book that's coming out this year is going to be, I think, it's the one that I've been wanting along the lines of what I'm talking about with you right now.
About showing up as you are, being and belonging.
Yes.
Okay.
And right. And that's the thing. Instead of trying to get people to believe like us in order to belong, I believe I want to do it more like what I believe we're supposed to do biblically. I was taught, and what I believe in my heart and what I've discovered for myself, you belong people into believing.
Yeah.
You get them, you show them love first, and then you build belief together. That's what you do. So that's that. But so the books are coming out, but underneath there is a Uphill Community Network. Blank Pages is a part of it.
Yeah.
And Blank Pages is a media and publishing thing. I'll be hosting other podcasts in the Uphill Community Network, and they'll have promoted by Blank Pages. I'm releasing, ready?
Yeah.
And this is, remember the pop-up
brand
book?
New. Brand new.
My children's book, my first one is coming out. I think it'll be print on demand. It's about a little bird and his journey of becoming. And it's and I have, and all the characters in the book will have spin-off books that will come off of it with their character and their journey of figuring some things out and learning about themselves, which is really cool. And it's stuff that I deal with adults with, even myself, on a daily basis, because as adults, we spend too much time sometimes just missing all of the obvious clues that could help us to get where we want to be.
That's right.
And so we got to go back to some simple basics.
Yep.
And so it's taking the principles that I use, like with adults, bringing them back to with kids, but putting characters around them so then I could take that back with the characters, and hopefully a parent will read it to the kid and they'll be on the same page.
That's right. Do you have a name? Do you have a name for the children's book? What's the name?
One that's coming out? It's called Flit. His name is the bird's name is Flit, Flit.
Okay.
But Flit learns to fly.
Flint
That's all
Learns
I'm
to
going to say.
Fly.
It will
I
be on
love it.
Amazon and other places, and so the other ones will roll out throughout the year. So
Nice.
I also there's some a family that we're friends with that they have a young artist, and so my wife and we really felt good about. We hired her as a young student to illustrate, and she's going to be
Oh,
able to
her
start, and so
dream.
she's going to do all my characters for me for my other books. She is doing so good. So rather than go, well, here's this established person here and this one, I'm like, why not do what I have always believed in? And what
Right.
was our story? Where were the people when we needed an opportunity? They didn't
That's
give us
right.
anything to do. And so instead, that's what we did. We went and hired an amateur and paid them like a professional.
Good. You got to bring people, you got to pull people along in your journey. Um,
But they gave professional quality. That's the cool part.
that's the best part. That's right. So, okay, so here's a tough question for you.
Oh
If you
boy.
had to sum up your entire entrepreneurial journey from the marketing agency to Uphill to now where you're where you are and where you're going, one word, Tim, what would be the word?
Can it be a bundle?
It can be a bundle. You can or is there a
Uh,
phrase?
a phrase.
Or
Yeah.
yeah.
That's really, really good. I mean, but it's not mine. It came from my mentor, John Maxwell.
Yeah.
If it's worth having, it's uphill. It's you got to do the hard work, and that's why that
That's
whole uphill from the ground for me, everything is find the genesis, get to your
and
root, man, and do it. Break down your scaffolding. Like that's why, yeah, it's uphill. In other words, you gotta. Everyone wants easy good, and
and
that's what even me.
like
Instead of
it
hard
doesn't
best.
exist.
Yeah, we need. If you want anything great, it's hard best, not easy good.
Yeah.
Easy good is standard. Easy good is miraculous. I mean, is average, mediocrity. But that hard best will lead you into the miraculous. It'll lead you into
Yeah.
incredible. It'll do greater things with people because it's hard. And I think I'm trying to help people with from the books to the podcast to the community I'm building that's going to
Yeah.
have courses and resources that are available that I'm making available with other partners and other people to have access to be able
Mm.
to share. It'll be on an app. They're going to be able to have that. They're going to be able to get live streams like these
Yeah.
within that and build from there. And they're not going to have to worry about people hijacking ideas
Right.
and all this other stuff. And it's just that's what we're doing. And that's what I put together. But it's so that it's a way for people to get to true north, if you want to call it,
Yeah.
the blank page
The
of their
blank page.
foundations,
That's right.
again, to say, I get to do this again, and I can break down the scaffolding of old thinking. I could just take it down to the
Yeah.
ground level again, and I can drop my hammer, and then I can start talking with people before I build again. And I can start connecting with them. And then instead of me trying to swing this hammer that I struggle with, they could come along and they offer theirs,
That's right.
and their effort and their arm to
Yeah.
help. That is why, yeah, it's uphill for me because it's ambitious. That would
Yeah.
be the one word that goes with uphill. It's ambitious.
Ambitious. I love it. Oh my gosh, Tim, you gave us such inspiring and encouragement and great advice, and your journey has been um it's been fascinating and watching, and I can't wait to see like your next 10, 15, 20 years. I'm excited about the network and the books and especially the kids book. I didn't know that
I'm
you were
so
doing that.
excited.
That's so
That is like the
Flint learns to
joy.
fly. That's it.
Yeah.
Bring that joy. Um, well, we're out of time. I can't believe it. It goes so fast.
It does. It's been
It go
great, Jennifer. It's been
can't I
great.
thank you for coming on. And for everyone listening and watching us live, thank you for joining us. But before we go, how do you want people to connect with you, Tim? What is the best way
Mm.
you want them to know more about you, the network, the podcast? Say it
Yeah,
all.
Yeah, I would love you just, I mean, of course I'm on LinkedIn, but I would love for you to go to my Instagram at Tim Pecoraro. All this other branded stuff, I'm just not getting into it right now.
Yeah.
I'm focusing on the podcast on it. So
Okay.
go there, click on my bio link. There's a newsletter there that you'll sign up for, an email that'll come out starting monthly that'll bring all of our stuff that I'm doing on the podcast together. And then as I roll out this community, it's all going to be there and it's free. Just click on it. It's not going to cost you anything. And then it'll sign you up to be notified. And then you're already going to be getting the invite when it's time to come into that next phase of it. So just
Perfect.
then send me a DM if there's a question.
Yeah.
I'm also looking for guests, Jennifer, to come on Blank Pages. Have them listen to the
I'm
podcast.
there. That's
Yeah,
right.
you're coming, but have others listen to it. And if you know people, that's what I want, because Jennifer, you're a person that I believe does why I do what I do. You're doing it too. This is what we do. This is, and I don't think we know how to do anything else.
No.
Where would we go? What would we do?
We try. We're all about building a community.
Yeah,
really
I
are.
know.
Yeah.
This is great, man.
I love it. This podcast episode again will be published this coming Sunday and available on all your favorite podcast platforms. So subscribe to Hello Chaos, like, comment, and share, and help us grow and build a more connected entrepreneurial community. Hello Chaos is one of the many resources brought to you by Orange Whip. Again, that's the Orange Whip, WIP for work in progress. Orange Whip is a multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs in affiliate cities. We are 100% free, just an email to join the community, and it's a one-stop content hub just for founders. We are in 3 areas of South Carolina, the upstate, Midlands, and Low Country, with goals to expand to 30 markets in 5 years. Check out the edition that is out in the Orange Whip, those cities. We've got some great founder stories, some stunning photography, and find your city and enjoy. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast or support us in any way, send an email to hello@orangewhip.com. Y'all, thank you for tuning in to Hello Chaos. It is where aha meets oh shit. I'm your host, Jennifer Sutton, and I will see you again next week.